Hello, could you introduce yourself briefly?
Hi, my name is Eva Echo. My pronouns are she, they. I'm a brand ambassador for London Transgender Clinic. I am head of communications and engagement for Birmingham Pride, and I also sit on the Crown Prosecution Service's hate crime panel.
Okay, so in terms of gender, how would you say you identify?
Um, I would say now trans femme because it's quite a fluid thing, and I think when I first came out, I was like, oh, I'm definitely female, 100%. But as I've journeyed, I've realised there's a fluidity to gender, and it's okay that it changes and it moves. And some days you're not quite feeling it, but does not mean that you're any less.
Okay, so could you tell us a little bit about your transition? You've talked about a bit of process already.
Yeah, I mean, I came out about 5 years ago now. I'm no spring chicken, so I came out quite late on in life, and it was out of necessity, really. I I spent years trying to basically deny who I was, and that resulted in a lot of mental health difficulties and various things from that. And yeah, that was just self oppression because I thought, no one would ever accept me and I couldn't be who I needed to be. And if anything, I played a role. I spent years trying to create one role, thinking if I can stick with this for the rest of my life, I'll be okay. But in an ideal world, even that was never going to happen. I crumbled. That's the only way I can describe it. Meltdown after meltdown, I completely crumbled because it just wasn't me. So the thing is, I would then kind of reinvent like myself, come up with another role, thinking maybe that is me. And ultimately, this battle went on until one day I thought I've got to do something. I came back from a UK tour, and being a musician, post-tour blues hit, and I was like, I really want to be back on stage. But when I was on stage, I didn't feel right because people were watching me, people were coming to talk to me after the shows, and I was not giving them the real me. And that's when I really took a step back and thought, well, who am I? Why do I feel like this? I should be happy. And then it dawned on me, there is something, and it's been with me since I was about 4 or 5 years old. Um, so I took some time out to work on myself, and I subsequently came out as transgender. And since then, it's just been moving forward with that.
Okay, so what does it mean to you to be visible as a trans person in the world?
To be visible, self-acceptance, to put myself out there and to have confidence to be myself is affirmation of my self-acceptance, because I couldn't do any of this without being able to accept myself and who I am. And it's the most basic form of activism because my existence goes against the binary, it goes against the society that we live in. So simply being me, going about my daily business, going to work, doing whatever, going to Tesco, I'm showing people that trans people exist in what would otherwise be classed as a cisgender world. And I'm saying, well, actually, cisgender, heterosexual, none of those are the default, and I exist as well. And also, most importantly, to show others it's okay to be visible. It's not always, rainbows and roses, I admit that, but since coming out, it's a whole lot better than it was before. And I'm part of a much bigger family that just accepts me willingly. And when I was on the cover of Boots Health and Beauty magazine last year for International Women's Day, it's a chance to bring together different areas of my intersectionality as well, being a person of colour, being trans, and basically say this is who I am, and to say to other people it's okay to be visible. You can do this. If I can do it, anybody else can. Not to be afraid to let yourself shine in the world, really.
Yeah, and I remember on social media when you first were on that cover, there was a little bit of controversy, but there were also lots of people going, that's someone like me up there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was so divided. There was so much hate from people who were like, that's not a woman. What are you doing? There was a hate campaign. They were trying to boycott Boots. They came up with their own little hashtag, which I thought was quite cute. And we got bombarded with hateful DMs and messages. And I just thought, you know what? Why are you so challenged by my existence? And it really just kind of opens up the idea that people just aren't quite ready for it. And if anything, we need to do more to push against that and to educate them. If I just shouted back at them, we wouldn't be getting anywhere. And I can guarantee you now that everyone who used that hashtag who threatened to boycott, it's probably still at Boots, and I bet Christmas just gone, they were there for a 3 for 2 offer. So it's all good. And to other people to say, I can do this, you can do this, I'm here for you as a symbol, to represent anyone can do this. Don't be afraid to. Yes, you get hate, but you get to represent an entire community, and we all represent ourselves, we all represent each other.
Absolutely. So what would you say the Trans Day of Visibility means to you?
I mean, I'm visible every day. What I do in my line of work, I'm pushing trans visibility, trans rights. It's a chance for me, though, to really focus on that and to share, to reflect, especially for those who can't be visible. I use my place of privilege and my platform to say, look, there are those who can't be visible, and here are the reasons why, and here's what you can do to help them, and to basically bring the two sides together so that we can move forward. I mean, we've just finished LGBTQ+ History Month, and as much as we celebrate these calendar events, we've got to make sure that we educate and we use them properly. Otherwise, we're simply going through the motions. LGBTQ+ History Month, we always think of those icons, Marsha P. Johnson, the Stonewall Uprising, Gay Liberation Front. They are set in stone, they're cemented in history. But what we often overlook is we're living through history ourselves. You only have to look at the pandemic recently. But my journey is in itself history. Being a trans person on the front of Boots Health and Beauty magazine is history. We're all creating milestones for ourselves, and we only have to look around to see there are heroes around us, and we need to celebrate them as well, rather than just root it in events 50, 60 years ago. Let's celebrate everything that's happened and make sure that we move forward with that. So in being visible and Trans Day Visibility, it's building on all of that and saying, look, we're taking what we learned back then, this is what we're doing here and now in the present, so that those in the future can really benefit from it.
It's really interesting. I've not thought about it as the follow-on from Trans History Month, but I suppose it does fit in the calendar that way, doesn't it? It's like, here's where we've come from and here's where we are now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fab. So, really difficult question. If you could only give one piece of advice to someone who's aspiring as an ally for trans people, what would that be?
Oh.
It's an evil question, I know.
There's so much. I would say, don't be afraid to get it wrong, because if your heart is in the right place, you want to be an ally, just be an ally. And I know that when it comes to things like terminology, language, accidentally misgendering someone, especially if you've known them for years before they came out, things like that, yes, mistakes can happen. But as a trans person, I'm always making mistakes. I'm always learning. The world's moving at such a fast rate. Don't be afraid to make those mistakes, because that's the only way that we can learn. And if we never put that foot forward and take that step because we're so afraid of making those mistakes, we're never going to get anywhere. And we do need allies. We need so many allies. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to learn from people as well.
Absolutely. I like the three-part piece of advice for if you've got someone's name or pronoun wrong, where you say sorry, you say the correct one, and then you move on with the conversation. So absolutely, you're fitting in with my favorite one there.
Not the end of the world. And the thing is, as a trans person, I've been called so much worse than someone dead naming me or misgendering me. That's fine. Don't dwell on it. Let's move on.
Fab. So, what about all the other trans people out there in the world? What would you like to say to anyone who's either yet to find their voice or just in those early days of stepping out the house, being themselves?
From personal experience, I would say be your own kind of beautiful. When I first came out, I was so rigid in who I thought I needed to be, and I literally jumped out of one binary box straight into another one. And I got to a point where I thought, why am I doing that? It's fluid, it's a spectrum. So don't hold yourself down, and don't be afraid to experiment with who you are, because there's only one of you. So just let yourself shine. And if you feel that you are fluid, that's absolutely okay. There's no one way to be trans.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Eva, for coming along. I'm sure I'll wrangle you into doing another talk for us at some point in the future.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.